every so often a story comes along that completely changes how we think about a piece of technology. Well, today we're talking about Klarna, a fintech giant whose massive bet on AI went, let's just say, spectacularly wrong. They thought they had cracked the code on the future of work, but that future came back to bite them hard. It all kicked off with this bombshell of a quote from Klarna's CEO back in early 2024. Now, you gotta understand, this wasn't some fuzzy, maybe someday prediction. This was a statement of fact. He was saying, right now, today, an AI is already doing the work of 700 people. And for the business world, this felt like a thunderclap. This was it. The AI revolution was officially here. But here's where the story gets really, really interesting. Look at this timeline. February 2024, they make this huge world-shaking announcement. But then, by early 2026, a very quiet, almost silent reversal. They started rehiring for the exact same jobs. So what on earth happened in those 2 years to cause such a massive U-turn? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to piece together. Okay, so to really get what went wrong, we have to start with what seemed so right. We have to go back to the promise. For a good while there, Klarna wasn't just another company using AI. No, they were the poster child. They were living, breathing proof that you could swap out a huge chunk of your workforce for code and come out on top. And the sheer scale of what they did is just wow. We're talking 2.3 million customer service conversations handled by their AI. Just let that number sink in. This wasn't them dipping a toe in the water to test it out. Oh no, they basically handed over the keys to a core part of their business to an algorithm. And the numbers they were putting out, the ones that ended up in all the headlines, they were incredible. The AI was handling 3/4 of all chats. It was doing it in 35 different languages. It took the time to solve a problem from 11 minutes all the way down to 2. And the big claim? That the quality was just as good as a human. For Wall Street, this was music to their ears. It screamed cost savings. Right, but that was the story they wanted everyone to hear. Behind the curtain, a totally different set of numbers was telling a much, much darker story. So let's look at the metrics that you did not see in that press release, because this is where everything starts to unravel. So here's the key thing to understand. There are 2 kinds of metrics here. The ones on the left, how many calls you take, how fast you answer, those look great in a press release. The AI was an absolute rock star at those. But the metrics on the right, customer satisfaction, how likely someone is to recommend you, those tell you if your business is actually healthy. And those were the numbers that were starting to tank. And it all came down to this. The AI was fantastic with the simple, boring stuff. But the second a customer was panicked or angry or just confused about something complicated, it fell apart. Think about it. You've been double charged and you're freaking out. Your account is frozen and you can't pay your bills. These are the high-stakes moments that make or break a customer's trust, and the AI just couldn't handle it. By the middle of 2025, the internal numbers were undeniable. The AI-only strategy just wasn't working. And then came this, an absolutely stunning admission from the very same CEO who had been bragging about his AI workforce. He came out and just said it. We went too far. 3 simple words that sent a massive shockwave through the entire industry. Now, admitting you made a mistake is one thing. Actually fixing it, that's a whole different and way more expensive ballgame. And this gets us to the part of the story almost nobody talks about, the gigantic hidden price tag of trying to undo a bad AI strategy. Actually, this whole problem got so common that the folks at Goldman Sachs even came up with a name for it. They call it implementation reversal expense. That's the fancy Wall Street way of saying, wow, cleaning up this AI mess is gonna cost us a fortune. Think about the spreadsheet they must have made in the beginning. It had one big, beautiful number in the savings column, 700 salaries. But what it missed was all this. The cost to win back angry customers, the cost to hire and train a whole new team from scratch, the cost of repairing a brand that's now known for terrible service. Not to mention all the time your top people are spending fixing this instead of, innovating. And what's the actual dollar cost of that mistake? Well, Goldman Sachs estimates that this reversal expense adds a staggering 40 to 80% to the true cost of a project. Just think about that. It's a massive financial blow that was completely invisible when they first made the decision. So it's really tempting to look at this and just say, well, that was Klarna's mistake. But the scary thing is, Klarna's story isn't a one-off. It's actually a warning flare for a huge trend that's picking up speed across the entire tech industry as we speak. Just take a look at these layoff numbers from the first quarter of 2026. Of all the thousands of people laid off in tech, nearly half, 47.9%, were let go specifically because of AI and automation. The industry is running the exact same playbook that blew up in Klarna's face. And we're not talking about small companies here. The pattern is the same everywhere. You've got giants like Amazon, Meta, and Workday all making cuts to go all in on AI. It's the same logic, probably the same kind of spreadsheet, with the same blind spots about the real costs. And hidden deep inside these huge industry numbers is a very real human cost. For young people just trying to get their careers going, this is just devastating. In the jobs most exposed to AI, employment is down 16%. Just finding that first entry-level job is 14% harder. It's like the bottom rung of the career ladder is being sawed off. So after all that, what's the lesson? What should we all take away from this whole Klarna mess? Well, it turns out it's pointing us toward a much smarter, more thoughtful playbook for how to use AI. So what does this smarter playbook look like? Well, it really boils down to three things. First, boards are literally asking their teams to stress test their plans for what's now called the Klarna outcome. Second, the goal isn't just replacement anymore, it's about building a hybrid model. And third, the really smart investors have stopped cheering when a company announces layoffs and started watching what happens to customer satisfaction right after. And here it is, the big idea that's emerging from all this. The winning strategy isn't replacement, it's allocation. You let the AI do what it's great at, handling the simple, repetitive, high-volume stuff, and you save your amazing human experts for the complicated, emotional, high-stakes problems, the places where trust is really built. It's a partnership, not a hostile takeover. In the end, this entire, expensive, painful saga really boils down to one single question. Klarna failed because they thought they were solving a volume problem, but what they really had was a relationship problem. Their AI was a brilliant processor, sure, but you don't build relationships with processing power. You build them with connection. And that is the multi-billion-dollar question that every leader needs to answer before they decide to hand over the keys to the algorithm.